In the southeast of the Mediterranean, Israel presents a great variety of landscapes. The coastal plain, a fertile land, stretches deep into the territory's interior. From north to south, a dorsal chain of hills whose altitude can reach over 1,000 meters runs through the country. But what's most spectacular is the lowest point on the planet, the Dead Sea, 400 meters below sea level. Many civilizations have left traces on this land. For people in antiquity like the Romans, this region, called Palestine, was of great strategic importance. The Byzantines took over from them, and they were followed by the Muslims. The installation of Islam provoked a reaction in the Occident and the beginning of the Crusades. After the Muslims, the Ottomans gained control, but Napoleon intervened. Just before the end of the Ottoman Empire, the British arrived with the First World War. They controlled Palestine for 30 years. As early as the end of the 19th century, the idea of creating a state of Israel was put forward by Theodor Herzl, an Austrian Jew, with the aim of reacting to anti-Semitism in Europe. The country became a reality in 1948. The State of Israel was created following a recommendation by the United Nations that also advocated the creation of a second state, an Arab state, in Palestine. During the Six-Day War in 1967, Israel conquered certain neighboring countries like Sinai, since returned to Egypt, the Gaza Strip, the Syrian Golan Heights, and the West Bank. These borders are still disputed. Tel Aviv is the capital of the country for the international community. It's to Tel Aviv that diplomatic representatives are sent. Its foundation goes back to the end of the 19th century. Jerusalem, 3,000 years old, is considered the capital by Israelis. It's there that political institutions have their headquarters. In 1950, Parliament voted the law of return, which allowed Jews from the world over to immigrate to the country created for them. The law meant they could become Israeli citizens, receive Hebrew lessons, as well as financial aid. Arabs represent a fifth of the national population. Among them are the Bedouins, who have almost totally lost their traditional lifestyle. The population is relatively young. Almost 30% of Israelis are under 14 years of age. Israel is also the country where one sees the largest number of single people. But that has not stopped the population from multiplying by 8 since the state's foundation. The army is omnipresent. In fact, military service is compulsory, with 3 years service for men and 2 for women. 80% of Israelis are Jewish. Judaism is the oldest of monotheist religions. Having no central authority, Jews refer to original texts and to their instruction. One of the most sacred places in Judaism, the Wailing Wall, was erected 2,000 years ago. Jerusalem is also very important for Muslims. It's one of the holy cities of Islam. Because Christ lived his last hours here, Jerusalem is at the heart of the Christian faith. For Christians of all persuasions, the town is an ineluctable place of pilgrimage. The traditions of the 3 monotheist religions are naturally very much alive here. Coming from Europe or straight from America, the most varied influences inspire the Israelis. Ancient monuments are carefully integrated into modern settings. Conservation of the past is not incompatible with modernity. All traditions attest to a multifaceted culture. Folklore is a living example. Hebrew is the national language. On many signs, it has its place alongside Arabic and English. Practicing Jews follow a strict diet. Kosher food follows it, but other specialities also have their place.
This is called saluf. This bread is made from whole wheat and bit of white flour. We put on it za'atar, olive oil, and some other things.
The Jewish tradition also includes a thorough knowledge of medicinal plants.
Here what we see is actually a tree of walnut, and walnut is known as a very strong antibiotic.
Knowing one's body and the taste for rhythm are part of the country's culture, in which Israelis find edification that is sometimes at odds with security. Israel is a country that has been on the alert since its creation, and its territory is under constant surveillance. Any means of defense possible is used to prevent hostile incursion. The separation wall in the West Bank is hundreds of kilometers long. During its construction, there were attempts at reconciliation from both sides. But the guns will have to fall silent in order to hear the messages of love. Some have paid with their lives for the cause of peace. Celebrated defenders of the country and great names in its history, homage is paid to their sacrifice. As soon as it became independent, Israel set itself an ambitious challenge, ensuring the infrastructures necessary for the distribution of water. Water was plentiful in the north, but was cruelly lacking in the barren south. Pumping equipment and piping demanded enormous investment for a young country. A large amount of the international aid was swallowed up in construction. Hundreds of thousands of acres of poor land was in this way made productive. In the struggle to develop land, the kibbutz played a large part. These very highly defended community farms were organized around collective buildings. In the beginning, the kibbutz had a primarily agricultural vocation. Many spend their whole lives on them. Water management and land improvement led to considerable agricultural development. The area of land cultivated has more than doubled since independence. Today, internal agricultural production provides for the major food needs of the country. Research has led to improvement in certain fruits, and others have acclimatized. Israel has become world leader in the field of reforestation, a field in which Zehev Kedem works.
Our activities has three colors: brown to maintain the land, blue to add water resources to this country, and green to plant trees.
For a long time concentrated on rural life, Israel has diversified its skills. The Israeli diamond market is one of the biggest in the world. Cutting the hardest of precious stones is a flourishing activity in the country. Industry employs a fifth of the active population, a surprising figure when you think that the country has few natural resources, apart from potassium, phosphates, and a few other minerals. Power stations supply almost all electricity. The sun is a complementary source. New constructions must have a solar water heater. All possible solutions are exploited to reduce the energy bill. The country has developed nuclear energy, but not for civil purposes. Today, Israel is at the peak of the high technology sector. The city of Tel Aviv is among the world's leading high-tech business centers. A tight network of communications completes Israel's equipment. The economy benefits from the income brought by pilgrims who come in the hundreds of thousands to visit the holy places every year. But tourism has other outlets. The weather is propitious, and a swim in the Dead Sea is a fine demonstration of the laws of physics. When the country has become a haven of peace, it will have accomplished the most noble of its dreams for the future. Between Tel Aviv and the Negev desert, you can find lifestyles that are extremely different in an area that is nonetheless no larger than Belgium. It gives us a clear idea of the distance that separates the nomad camps and the modern big city. The name Tel Aviv is borrowed from the Bible. It means hill of springtime. Originally, the city was meant to adopt the plan of a garden city, English style, with family houses and parks. But the city experienced such rapid development, the plan for the garden city was definitively given up. To allow for growth, initial restrictions on building height were also abandoned. By liberating space, creation was also liberated. Architects and artists rushed to participate. In spite of its vertical thrust, the city has lost nothing of its personality. At the foot of modern skyscrapers, a group of houses was left intact, part of the former colony of Sarona, built in the 1870s by German Christians who had immigrated here. The Neve Tzedek neighborhood dates to before the construction of Tel Aviv. During the 1920s, it was called Little Paris. Within a few years, the area became one of the most sought after in the capital. Its authenticity is carefully guarded, as are the shutter fastenings in the shape of human figures. Dizengoff Street never empties. It's here that the fashionable shops and craftwork boutiques are found. Among creations on sale are objects of a religious nature, like the Hanukkah, the candlestick with 9 branches. The nearby Carmel Market displays the colorful products typical of the Mediterranean. Religious laws forbid mixing beef and milk products. Shop owners who sell both must be very careful. As for seafood, it's against kosher rules to eat shellfish and crustaceans. But whatever the neighborhood, meals are always a pleasure and even a treat. In the bustling streets, it's not surprising to come across some characters who are out of the ordinary. A short distance away, indifferent to eccentricity, but more orthodox, some try to convince Jews to go back to more traditional practices. Wearing a tefillin, a little square box that contains passages from the Bible, on the forehead and attached to the left arm with a leather strap.
Hallelujah, Adonai, kol goyim.
In the 1930s, German Jewish architects arrived and introduced a sober, geometrical, functional style. Daniel Rosenblum.
הבאוז הוא בית ספר לעיצוב פנים ולאדריכלות שהוקם בגרמניה ב-1918. הקווים המעצבים של הארכיטקטורה הזאת הם קווים אופקיים, פשוטים, מרובעים, עם הדגשה על חלל פנימי ואור. כשהקו האנכי היחידי זה הקו שנקרא מדחום, שהוא מאפשר כניסת אור לחדר המדרגות.
Bauhaus architecture was introduced by the socialist ideology. It transposed through architecture an egalitarian dimension with common spaces that were intended to benefit everyone. In Tel Aviv, its influences are many. The results are sometimes surprising, like this building nicknamed the Crazy House. In Tel Aviv, the walls are also areas for artistic expression, and references to politics are par for the course. The Tel Aviv Art Museum houses an impressive collection, including a monumental work by the American Liechtenstein. The Austrian Gustav Klimt is there, together with Giacometti, the Swiss painter and sculptor, and one of the world's most popular artists, the American Jackson Pollock. Two great 20th century Spanish masters are here, Pablo Picasso and Juan Miró. The French painter of Russian origin, Marc Chagall, also has a good place. On the seafront, it's easy to see that Tel Aviv is a casual city. Jerusalem is only 80 kilometers away, yet light years separate the two cities. Here, there are no holy places, no pilgrims, fewer rules, and it feels a little like California. Night falls on the old docks. The quays have been transformed to promenades with exhibitions and shop fronts vying for attention. Rendezvous are made here to shop or to take a little fresh air on the former jetties. In Tel Aviv, people like chocolate, because here, pleasure is king. All pleasures. In a country so marked by religion, the number of bars you can show off in seems surprising. To Today part of Tel Aviv, the town of Jaffa was for 4,000 years one of the most active ports in the Mediterranean. The clock tower looks down on the old town. It dates from the Ottoman era, at the beginning of the 20th century. Curiously, the English police created the flea market in Jaffa. At the entrance to the city, the police organized a monthly auction of lost and stolen goods. The Arabs thought that a wedding ring purchased here brought luck. The flea market looks a lot like a souk. The merchants are anxious to make the first Sunday morning sale. It's meant to bring them luck for the week to come. It's often said that the port of Jaffa is the oldest in the world. It was already active in the Bronze Age, 2,000 years before Christ. The city, mentioned in both the Old and New Testaments, was not always a peaceful one. A past full of conquest and reconquest hides behind the walls built by the Ottomans. Many different cultures have left their mark, remarkably well preserved in the wood, the stone, and the brass. Art galleries have opened in the old town. A building that used to house Jewish pilgrims has become the Ilana Gor Museum, named after the artist who lives in it. The terrace, transformed into a cafe, also displays works of art. In Jaffa, artists also take inspiration from biblical subjects, like Jonah's whale. There is a Greek Orthodox monastery in the town. The Greek Orthodox Church is the largest property owner in Israel. Contrast between the past in Jaffa and the future as seen from the north in Tel Aviv is striking. In Herzliya, the country has a concentration of technology. For its number of high technology companies, Israel ranks just after California. The University of Tel Aviv plays a dynamic role in associating high technology firms with research. The first president of Israel, Weizmann, was a well-known chemist. A famous scientific institute that is known the world over developed in his house. Weizmann was honored for his work. The automobile constructor Henry Ford Jr. offered him a car of which only 2 were made. Private firms helped to finance scientific departments. Solar energy is captured by an oven that reaches very high temperatures without polluting. The laws of physics are studied in many different ways, notably with a particle accelerator. Following the coast north of Tel Aviv, you go back into the past. Here, the sand had covered the remains of a Roman aqueduct. Built in the 2nd century AD, the structure is composed of a single row of arches topped with a stone duct. The construction, in immediate proximity to the sea, supplied fresh water to one of the largest cities of the ancient world, Caesarea. With its amphitheater built along the length of the beach, the city was created by King Herod. He baptized it Caesarea in honor of the Roman Emperor Caesar Augustus. The town became the regional capital of the Roman Empire. Arabs took the town in the 7th century, then abandoned it. It was not till the very beginning of the 12th century that the Crusaders recaptured Caesarea. They rehabilitated only one part of the town, covered by sand and very dilapidated. As in Roman times, the theatre has a privileged natural setting facing the Mediterranean. The Crusaders protected Caesarea with walls so solid that they surprise even today when we know that the town changed hands 4 times during the Crusades. To the north, the hills are high enough to bring on rainfall. They supply the watercourses that irrigate the fertile plain. Following the coast, you come to the north's large town, Haifa. The town used to be industrial, but with the rise of new technologies, its face has changed. Haifa has its own Silicon Valley. Since the beginning of the 20th century, the town's population has increased almost 30-fold. As you round Cape Carmel and the mountain of the same name, Haifa appears. For a long time, the port was the first image that Jewish immigrants had of Israel. The Naval and Illegal Immigration Museum recounts the exploits of the Israeli Navy. On Mount Carmel, huge gardens are a holy place for the Baha'i religion. This originated in Persia in the 19th century. The founder of the religion is buried here. Akko, or St. John of Acre. The town was already mentioned in Egyptian texts 19 centuries before Christ. The town remained for 4 centuries in the hands of the Arabs. The souks indicate the wealth of a town where Alexander the Great had already founded a mint which carried on producing coin for 6 centuries. The Crusaders seized the town and proclaimed it capital of the Latin Kingdom of Palestine. They built a citadel, the seat of their power. The different military orders were represented here: Knights Templars, Teutonic Knights, and the Knights of St. John. A number of rooms whose structure has not changed since the 13th century were used as a prison during the British Mandate. A tunnel provided a way out of the fortress if there was a long siege. On the site where the Crusaders built a cathedral, the Ottomans built the El Jazar Mosque in the 18th century. The blue and brown tones on the walls are typical of late Ottoman art. The Han el-Umdan was an inn, a caravanserai. 4 clocks give the time in Roman, Hebrew, Indian, and Arab numerals. The tunnel, known as the Templars Tunnel, leads to the coast, near to the Church of St. John, built by the Franciscans in the 18th century. Going east, you cross Galilee. The plots of land sometimes take on surprising forms, like the star-shaped layout which originally was to make protecting the village easier. The fertile lands of Galilee are situated in a strategic area which is much fought over. In the distance are the Golan Heights, a territory occupied by Israel since 1967. Before 1967, the border between Israel and Syria ran alongside this river. Today, the demarcation line is to be found about 20 kilometers further east. The Syrian positions have been abandoned since the Six-Day War. In 1967, fierce battles were waged on the Golan Heights. Nearby is the Syrian village of Kunitra. This very sensitive region has been placed under United Nations surveillance. The altitude, the cool wind and the basalt soil favor the growth of vines on the Golan Heights and have done for a very long time, according to Shalom Aronzon.
Look, on all these stones we have most also grape clusters and vine branches. And that can show us that we are not the first in the branch. Our forefathers were in the same business, we that follow their tradition.
For the wine to be kosher, the workers on that part of the production line where the bottles are still open have to be Orthodox Jews. Another restriction is that the grapes can't be picked in the first 3 years that the vine produces fruit.
We have the year, what's called the year of the sabbatical year, every seventh year, when we are forbidden to plant vineyards, to make kosher wine. The wine has to be produced and handled openly by Jews that are Sabbath observants.
Israeli wines are beginning to be recognized on the international market, mainly because of the diversity of the grape varieties used.
These three, Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay, and Merlot.
There are an amazing number of biblical sites in Galilee. Lake Tiberias, or the Sea of Galilee, is an important place for Christians, as several episodes in the life of Christ took place here, like the miracle of the draught of fish. Christ preached in the synagogue in Capernaum. The word has become synonymous with disorder because of the bustling commercial activity of this ancient town. Another Galilean location stands out in Christian culture, Nazareth. This is the town where Christ spent his youth. Today, it's the biggest Arab town in Israel. According to the Gospel, it was here that Mary, the mother of Christ, had her destiny revealed to her. The Basilica of the Annunciation was built to commemorate the event. Here, Mass takes on a deeper significance. It was on the summit of Mount Tabor that the Transfiguration took place. As the apostles looked on, Christ's appearance changed to reveal his divine nature. Further south, the ancient town of Beit She'an is one of the great archaeological centers in Israel. The excavations have uncovered the existence of 20 different settlements, each one built over another throughout the course of history. In Roman times, the town was distinguished by the large size of its theater. The town possessed all modern comforts, not only latrines, but also underfloor heating. The bathroom is raised to allow the heat to circulate underneath. In the 8th century, the town was devastated by a terrible earthquake, almost everything standing today is due to the work of restoration. The Romans were well acquainted with the environment of the Dead Sea, an enclosed stretch of water lying at the lowest point on the planet. The area is arid and plant life practically non-existent. The name Dead Sea is well deserved. No fish can survive here, and the only life is on the scale of bacteria. In the sedimentation basins, the shallow water evaporates very quickly. Once evaporation is completed, a highly prized salt just has to be harvested. There is a thick layer of salt on the shore. In the sea itself, the density of the salt is so great, you don't have to be able to swim. What religion indulges in this strange ceremony? Carefully smearing yourself with mud. Yes, people come a long way to submit to this surprising ritual. The explanation. The water of the Dead Sea contains minerals that have beneficial effects, and applying mud helps you make the most of it. What's more, the atmosphere here is quite exceptional.
The air in the Dead Sea is full of oxygen, much more oxygen than at the sea level, and it's very healthy, and you feel better, and you feel very calm here. You have brome in the air.
The air, the sea, and the mud are a winning combination, especially as it doesn't stop you trying to look your best. Opposite the Dead Sea in the Gedi Reserve, nature is much more intense. The rock daemon is a small herbivore, so it appreciates the surprising variety of plant life. Some plants that only grow in salty areas grow alongside the reeds that can only live in fresh water. As soon as fresh water appears, pleasures change. In pools hollowed out by erosion, you have a dip to cool off. The narrow channel of Wadi David ends in King David's waterfall. The Nubian ibex is often mentioned in the Bible, but it very nearly disappeared from the region. Today, it is protected. The female has short, slender horns. The Nubian ibex can be recognized by the light black and white fur it has on its legs. The male's head is armed with powerful horns. The Gedi Kibbutz, which is also opposite the Dead Sea, contains a completely man-made botanical garden. There are hundreds of plant species here, the oldest of them planted about 50 years ago. But how did they manage to grow so many different species in such difficult ground? Joël Lalugassi.
The dream of the first people to arrive here was to bring the desert to life. They did a few trials. They didn't know which plants or which trees could adapt to this soil, which was really very saline. They started planting big trees, then they carried on with other plants, and then others. And it kept on growing until it became this lovely garden.
The soil of En-Gedi is particularly suited to certain giant trees.
When I arrived in En-Gedi, this baobab was a meter high. I watched it being planted.
אתם
hear
שומעים
that
את השקט?
The south of the Dead Sea is dominated by an impressive rocky outcrop. On the top are the ruins of the ancient Masada, a fortified stronghold that was almost inaccessible in its day. In the 1st century AD, the Jews rebelled against Roman occupation. 1,000 Jews took refuge in Masada to continue the fight against the repression that followed. They had enough supplies to hold out for months. The stronghold was well protected. King Herod had provided it not only with means of defense, but with buildings decorated with mosaics. The 2,000-year-old walls have received the attention of restorers, as has the former synagogue, the oldest in the world. The fortress also had storehouses and a bathing establishment. The system for supplying water was very clever. Charles Ayash knows Masada very well.
À l'époque hérodienne, on avait construit deux canaux en forme de V qui captaient le petit lit de rivière qu'on peut voir ici à l'ouest. Et donc cette eau coulait le long des canaux pour aller remplir 12 citernes. Et les serviteurs, semble-t-il peut-être des esclaves, allaient chercher cette eau dans des outres, montaient ensuite le long du sentier qui est ici pour aller remplir les citernes supérieures que l'on voit ici juste devant nous.
Nevertheless, the Romans took Masada. And rather than surrender, the defenders committed suicide. Masada became the symbol of Jewish resistance against the invader. The Negev desert provides Israel with many geological resources. The first Prime Minister of Israel, David Ben-Gurion, understood that despite appearances, the Negev had potential. The state had to overcome the desert, otherwise the desert would overcome the state. He decided to realize the desert's potential. Today, the effort is ongoing. A reserve has been created to bring together the wild animals already mentioned in the Bible or under threat of extinction. This is how the Arabian onyx comes to be living alongside the onager, a wild donkey. This one always arrives on tiptoe, the ostrich. Everyone knows it can run very fast, but it is not widely known that it is very, very curious. Birds of prey are also part of the fauna of the Negev. The Egyptian vulture terrifies the fennec, the smallest species of fox. The jackal is on the prowl and is up to no good. Even the caracal keeps its distance. The sand rat keeps busy, while the hyena has found a shady spot for a siesta. Like the leopard. The Negev covers over 60% of the country, but only a small percentage of Israel's population live there. Sandstorms are responsible for the severe erosion which has created arches in the mountains and has carved out King Solomon's pillars from a monumental sandstone cliff. Despite the difficult conditions, man has prospected in the Negev to exploit its riches. The ancient Egyptians, with their rudimentary tools, were already extracting copper ore from here. In the extreme south of the country, political frontiers come together. Egypt, Jordan, and Israel meet on the edge of the Sinai. This is a strategically sensitive region. The armies keep an eye on each other's positions. Between Jordan and the Sinai Peninsula, which belongs to Egypt, the territory of Israel gets narrower and narrower as it reaches the Red Sea. The port of Eilat is a vital access for the importing of hydrocarbons and for goods arriving via the Indian Ocean from the Middle East and Asia. The airport is right in the middle of a town that has expanded considerably. The big hotels lined up on the seafront have a style that is very reminiscent of Hollywood. With an average temperature of 21 degrees, the sunbathing season lasts all the year round. The Red Sea has an abundance of corals that must be protected. Tourists can take advantage of various attractions to learn about the riches of the sea. One of them brings you in contact with dolphins almost in their natural environment. Maria Storm.
There are quite a lot of dolphins in the Gulf, different kinds of species. The dolphins here in the Gulf are species that live in the deep water, so they cannot actually live in an area like here where the water is fairly shallow. And the dolphins that we brought from the Black Sea, they're used also to the shallow water living.
Whether they're from the Black Sea or the Red Sea, dolphins have a feeling for show business. And they love being petted. In the Undersea Observation Park, the creatures of the Red Sea are present in all their incredible diversity. Thanks to their gift of imitation, the animals blend into their background, which makes it hard to distinguish between rocks, plants, and fish. Watching the undersea life is like watching a film. Behind a glass screen, the sea is giving us a non-stop show, a show with no limits. Well away from the sea, the cultural origins of Israel go back a long, long way. In Israel, culture knows no frontiers. Different cultures find their expression and mingle together, especially in Jerusalem. No city in the world has had such a destiny, and the destiny of Israel passes through Jerusalem. If all the cultures can come together without exception, then the country can cherish a great dream.